So hello everyone, and a big warm welcome to you all. Thanks so much for joining us today to celebrate the launch of Glasgow Arts Partnership Consortium. I'm Janine Matheson, Executive Director of Glasgow Connected Arts Network, and we're delighted to be launching this new strand of our work today. We'd like everyone to feel comfortable whilst you're with us, so please adjust your viewing screen how you prefer it. If you'd like your camera switched off or you just want to listen in today, please feel free to do so. To access the live AI-generated closed captions, if you click the button at the bottom of your screen, which says CC Live Transcript, from there you can select Show Subtitles. If you have any problems accessing this, lovely Mario, our tech support today, will be able to help you, so just pop a message in the chat. We are also joined by the lovely Tracy and Paul, our British Sign Language interpreters, who will be supporting us today. Please note we are recording the event, so when someone is talking, if you can keep yourself on mute, just to reduce any background noise for the recording. There's going to be time for questions at 3 o'clock after our talks, but if you think of something before then, please do use the chat function to add in your questions and we'll respond to them at the Q&A. Today's launch is an hour and a half. We do have a wee comfort break scheduled in half an hour, but again, we want you to keep yourself happy and hydrated. So if you need a break at any time during the event, please do so. So I'm going to just stop sharing the screen just because it's... So Glasgow Connected Arts Network exists to nurture and develop the participatory creative community in Glasgow. We achieve this by supporting our network of members, which are made up of creative individuals and organisations, through advocacy, professional development workshops, networking, one-to-one support sessions, funding and development opportunities. The Glasgow Arts Partnership, which I'm going to refer to as GAP, is a new strand of our work and is a consortium of creatives working together to deliver larger funded or commissioned projects. GAP is interdisciplinary, intergenerational, and cross-art form, and will bring in regular work and partnership opportunities for our members, and as a way for our network to gain more direct opportunities through us. GAP strives to ensure that the types of creative projects delivered to the community are impactful and meaningful for participants. We strongly believe that creativity is a tool for positive social change. So I'd like to take this opportunity to thank a few people before we get started and hear from our wonderful speakers. So first of all, I wanted to thank Hannah Justad, who is Glasgow Connected Arts Network's previous director, who has expertly and with tremendous care led Glasgow Connected Arts Network, and specifically the Glasgow Arts Partnership, through a time of quite rapid change over the last few years. Yvonne McBride and Neil Young from Partnership for Procurement, P4P, who have supported us in the development of GAP and provided mentorship and guidance. We'd also like to thank Creative Scotland for investing in the development of the consortium through the Creative Industries Targeted Fund. And a special thank you to Lucy Harwood, our GAP coordinator, who has guided the team and our network through this process and brought our ambitions for GAP to life with thoughtfulness and care. My last thank you, but certainly not our least, a huge thank you to our wonderful members and working group who have committed a whole lot of their time and energy into helping to shape GAP. So thank you very much. So the first part of this afternoon together, we're going to hear and feel inspired about partnership and collaborative working from our guest industry speakers. And I'm delighted to welcome our first speaker, Helena Ward, the Creative Industries Manager at Creative Scotland. So I'm going to pass over to Helena.
Thank you. Thanks, Janine, and good afternoon, everyone. It's great to see some faces that I know and some others that I don't know, but I hope you find the whole afternoon both inspiring, enjoyable and useful. So first of all, yes, I work in the creative industries, and you may well ask some of you, what does that mean? And as some of you might know, there's actually 16 creative industries. So we're talking from everything from heritage education through to visual arts, performing arts, dance, film, screen, the whole shebang. So what I'm going to talk about today is really what our creative industries team does at Creative Scotland and why we are supporting this terrific initiative. So I hope that will be clearer by the end of my few minutes of speaking. To start with, we believe that everyone is creative. We absolutely endorse that. But we know that there are artists, practitioners, people out there who are motivated to turn this into the basis for how they live, work and study. And that word motivation is an important one, because we do talk about business plans, career plans, that type of thing, but we believe it's very much based on the motivations of the individuals or the organisations and what they believe in and what they want to contribute to a sector or Scotland-wide or international, wherever they are serving. So we also believe that this creativity can generate cultural, social and economic value. And we call that the triple bottom line. Now that's also used in an environmental sense, and we have brought environmental into some of our priorities of working. So, but we can group it around the triple bottom line, including the social aspects of how we work and environmental within that, as well as economic and cultural. But we in our team are primarily looking at the economic impact, but that can come from commissions and contracts in sectors such as education, communities, health and well-being. So it's still linked through those social, cultural opportunities for work. But what we're looking for there is an opportunity for the economic side to come through that in terms of income generation and developing markets and opportunities for professional practice and earning a living. But our projects are time limited, and we work with organisations mainly because there are so many creative businesses out there. We don't have the resources to work with each one individually on their business development. We do, as you know, support creative practice and new work. But because of that limited resource on the business development side, we work with intermediaries such as GAP and Glasgow Can, who can then support a cohort of artists like yourselves to actually become more sustainable in their businesses. And what we're looking for ultimately is that artists and creative practitioners can make a living from their creativity, and that's a key aim for us across the whole of Scotland. And so we know that participatory practice is one such route, so that's why we've been working with Glasgow Can on that development initially. We also have a focus on place-based support and testing ideas that will help build a local market. So again, working with Glasgow Can, as we work with other cities and towns around Scotland, is an opportunity to build those local markets. And we know that Glasgow is a key city for supporting that growth and that sustainability. So again, that's a reason for working with this particular intermediary and in this way. So we also recognise that much creativity is sustained through the market. Now, what do we mean by a market? In that sense, buying tickets, books, music, games, classes, all those things are a market. But sometimes we recognise that public support is needed to develop that market. And in this case, it's actually talking about public procurement. And what we also mean by market is that's really anyone that is looking to buy a service or a product. So it's all that talent, all that provision that you can offer to anyone that has a means of buying and purchasing whatever you have to offer. So, and as I said, in this case, procurement is a key one. And we also have the potential, not just on the public side, but with P4P, hopefully in the future, to reach the private sector as well. So I know that's a bit further down the line, but it's all opportunities to basically offer your talent, skills, work, whatever, and get paid for that. So it's a real opportunity there, both in the next 2 or 3 years, but further down the line as well. Finally, we also recognise that the access to procurement can be difficult for artists and creative practitioners. We've come across this in the design sector as well. And that buyers also may not fully understand what you as artists can offer. I think it's a two-way thing here. So we're looking at it as a kind of matchmaking support from Glasgow Can and Gap that has the potential to offer new opportunities for artists to be both valued and paid for their work and their services, but also I think importantly to grow and educate the markets for that work. So I think it's a two-way thing, and I think it was fantastic to see how the work that Glasgow Can do with all of you, and also working with those potential buyers and customers and contracts can grow something even bigger. And also, we understand that working with intermediaries such as Glasgow Can gives you an opportunity to focus on what you do best. So Glasgow Can and Gap, in this sense, can do a lot of the heavy lifting for you. And I think it's terrific that they will be able to provide the much needed time, the expertise and the resource to help you as artists and practitioners to build a sustainable creative ecology within the city. So that again has been an important reason for us for getting involved in this project, and we really look forward to seeing how this is going to develop over time and create an ecology, yes, within Glasgow, but hopefully learning across the rest of Scotland as well, and what other communities of interest and creative area networks are doing to actually grow their sustainability and strengthen their sectors, either locally, nationally or internationally. But in this case, very much focus at this time on what the opportunities are within Glasgow and within procurement. So thanks very much, and I'll be around for the rest of the day, happy to take questions, and we'll join one of the groups later as well for any other questions or things that I can contribute or say, or things that I've forgotten to say or should have said. So thank you for that.
Thanks so much, Helena. That was a really great overview. So we're going to, if you have questions, please do pop them in the chat, but we are going to kind of revisit them a little bit later on. So we're going to move on to our second speaker, who's actually joining us via the magical powers of video. So Marie Christie is our Head of Development at Visit Scotland and has been leading the Unboxed Creativity in the UK programme for Scotland. The recording's about 7 minutes long, and although Marie's not here, if you do have any specific questions for her, please do pop them in the chat or let us know after the event, and we will pass them on and kind of circulate that afterwards. Okay. I'm going to hand over to Mario, I think.
Hello everybody, my name's Marie Christie and I am Head of Development for Events at Visit Scotland. I've been asked to talk a little about a huge project that I've been involved in for the past couple of years that's about to launch with its very first event next month. The project's called Unboxed Creativity in the UK, and it's a major celebration of creativity taking place across all 4 nations of the UK from March to October this year. It consists of 10 new, awe-inspiring commissions shaped from across science, technology, engineering, the arts and maths, by brilliant minds working in unexpected collaborations. Unmissable events and unforgettable experiences are coming to places and spaces right across the UK, from coastal towns to city centres to areas of breathtaking natural beauty. 5 of the 10 commissions will take place here in Scotland, and you can experience all of Unboxed in person, on TV, on the radio and online, all for free. Delivered in partnership across all 4 governments of the UK, each nation is responsible for a commission, with the 6 remaining commissions being UK-wide in scope and commissioned directly by the core Unboxed team. My organisation is the strategic delivery body for Unboxed in Scotland, and we work alongside Creative Wales, Belfast City Council and the core Unboxed team based in Birmingham to deliver the whole. It's a massive once-in-a-lifetime project with a budget befitting that, and amazingly, the whole project has been largely designed and commissioned online throughout the pandemic. Pitched as an experiment in creativity, this is true in the way that the commissioning process has worked as much as it's true about the events you will see this year. What's particularly interesting in the context of this launch today is the way in which all 10 projects were commissioned. So rather than work with major cultural institutions or maybe what might be considered as the usual suspects, we opened the process right up and put out a call for creative teams to assemble and respond to a basic brief, which was imagine and design a concept for a large-scale public engagement project that is open, original, optimistic, and will exist in places and spaces across the UK, real, virtual, or both, seeking to engage millions of people globally. So, during the first part of the commissioning process, we were looking for exciting, diverse, innovative teams drawn from across STEAM that had a strong, shared direction of travel and an exciting idea. We had a huge response, and Scotland alone had 14 teams coming forward, and that brought together around 51 organisations of all shapes and sizes and 22 creative freelancers. From the 14 Scottish teams, 2 were selected by a panel drawn from representatives from across the creative sector to enter a paid R&D programme. And that R&D programme brought together all of the shortlisted teams from across the UK and focused on developing the projects that would finally pitch for the commission. Our successful Scottish team was commissioned in March last year, and they have since spent that time developing the project. Scotland's commission for Unboxed is Dandelion. It's an exciting new creative initiative taking place across Scotland from April to September, and it takes a unique approach to community growing, aiming to inspire hundreds of thousands of people to get involved in a national programme of sewing, growing, live music and cooking together. The programme features a number of unexpected gardens delivered in partnership with community and cultural hubs across the country, a schools and citizen science programme, various creative interventions in public space utilising innovative growing cubes, and 2 focal music festivals in Glasgow and Inverness. The programme culminates in hundreds of harvest festivals across the country. The team behind Dandelion is a collaboration between festival organisers, freelancers, cultural directors, inventive technical and production experts, renowned earth scientists and dedicated specialists in sustainability, youth and community engagement. Dandelion is now constituted as a limited company based in Glasgow but with a Scotland-wide reach. The company was set up specifically to deliver Scotland's commission. It is a vast project and all original team members are represented in the company and the project. A great number of roles have been created and continue to be recruited. For example, there are a number of musician in residence opportunities that have just been advertised this week, if that's something that is of interest to any of you on this call today. A project like Unboxed has never happened before. The commissioning model was open and unique. It hasn't been easy, but I think it has been worth it, and I hope once the project is delivered, there will be lessons to share and learn from its success about collaboration, open processes, diversity, and ensuring a range of voices and talents are at the core of major projects such as this. You can find out more about Scotland's Commission Dandelion, including opportunities like the one I just mentioned, at dandelion.scot, and about the full Unboxed programme at unboxed2022.uk. So a little plug at the end. Unboxed opens with About Us, which is a spectacular open-air show that takes us on a thrilling journey through 13.8 billion years of history from the Big Bang to the present day. It's created by 59 Productions, the Poetry Society and the STEMettes, and it features stunning 3D projection mapping, local choirs and the music of acclaimed composer Nitin Swanee. Even better, It opens in Paisley. It's free and it runs from the 1st to the 6th of March in Scotland. So plenty of opportunity to get down there and see what it's all about. So all that remains for me to say is very best wishes for the launch of the Glasgow Arts Partnership. I fully support its ambition to help drive innovation and growth opportunities for freelancers and organisations through collaboration. So very best of luck with all of that, and many thanks. Goodbye for now, and hopefully see your Unbox activity across Scotland this year. Thank you. Bye.
Great, thank you, Marie. And I'll pop in a link to the Dandelion project as well. It's just about to launch, so really exciting. I am going to hand over to our final speaker, Morven Cunningham. Morven is a freelance creative and creative lead at Culture Collective and has some exciting projects to share with us.
Hello. Yeah, thanks for that, Janine. I hope everyone can hear me all right. I'm looking quite professional at the moment because I'm in the middle of recording audio for a podcast. I don't normally look quite like this. Out of interest, for a few folk, I saw there was some mention in the chat there about Unboxed. It might be worthwhile for a little bit of context if anyone's interested to have a little look at the open letter written about Festival 2022 by Migrants in Culture, if you're interested in reading a little bit more about the context. Okay, so I might kick off with a visual description. I am a short, you can't tell, but I am a little bit short. In my mind, I'm very tall. Androgynous white person with short dark hair, normally wearing a smart jacket. And I can tell you that I am wearing a smart jacket today. And my pronouns are she and they. I am going to talk a little bit about some of the creative projects that I've been involved in over probably like the last decade, hopefully to inspire you all with some examples of collaborative creative projects and of the benefits of working collaboratively in the community. I'm going to involve, this is going to involve me sharing my screen so I can just show you some images. It also means that I can't see you. So farewell, and I'll see you on the other side. Give me a second, I'm going to share my screen. Okay. So now you can see my lovely backdrop. And now you can hopefully see my lovely face. Yes. I'm going to take that as a yes. Okay, we're going to go full screen. Bye, guys. Shout out to the lovely Tio Makanonen, who is a photographer and does lovely portraits in the Glasgow area. So, yeah, you've got a little bit of a background in me from Janine already. I have a history of working in communities and with communities and local festival and event organising. This kind of kicked off, I suppose, with a festival that I founded, or organisation that I founded a number of years ago, 2011 on Bloomsday, for all the James Joyce fans out there. So yeah, June the 16th, 2011 was the launch of Leithlate, which is in its essence a multi-arts festival that takes place over multiple venues in Leith, in the Leith area of Edinburgh. And the kind of concept behind it, as you can see on your screen there, hopefully, was 10 venues, 2 hours, and one after party, because there's got to be a party at the end of it. And the idea really behind Leithlate was an art trail, an art crawl, you might want to call it as well, between multiple venues. So it's kind of like a multiple art opening over the space of one night. And it was very grassroots from the start. We didn't get external funding for the event until I think 4 or maybe 5 years into its incarnation from 2011. And the idea kind of was to, I suppose, there was lots of different things. One thing was to showcase lots of different art spaces that were being active in Leith in the space of one night. It was also a way to kind of, for want of a better word, kind of amplify the cultural activity that was going on in Leith at the time. It came, as all good ideas come, from the pub, and there was a few friends of mine who were involved in some of these grassroots art spaces who wanted to do something collectively, but couldn't really get anything off the ground, I think partly because those individual spaces were so involved in their own silos, and there was maybe a little bit of a power struggle as well. The idea that maybe if one space were to take the lead on doing something kind of collaborative and collective, that maybe they would keep their end up a little bit more than the others. So in terms of my involvement, I kind of knew a lot of the people involved in particularly these art spaces, but wasn't actually directly involved with any of them. So I think that was a real strength when it came to the foundation of Leaflet, was that I could act as a kind of an amplifier and as a connector for these spaces. So yeah, as you can see, there was a number of art spaces there. I think the thing that was slightly different with Leaflet as well is we also opened it up into local businesses, and that kind of grew and grew. And you can kind of see almost like a visual depiction then of all those different spaces and of how the event started to grow year on year. So this was in 2013, Leaflet 13, and as you can see already, there was 17 events taking place from that poster. So you can already see how it's grown and grown. I've got another picture as well. So yeah, really kind of connecting these spaces, creating kind of a larger focus. Needless to say, the event was really successful, and it was something that's become kind of an annual thing. The last proper art crawl took place in Leith in 2017. We went on hiatus in 2018, came back with kind of different types of events the year after that, and then obviously we all know that the pandemic hit. I'm delighted to say that this year, 2022, that the Leaflet art crawl will be returning, so keep an eye out for that. One of the most recent projects I've been involved in was a group exhibition called Fabric of Society. This is the beautiful poster that was put together by Rabia Chowdhury, who was one of the artists. So it was a group exhibition as part of Glasgow International. Last year, it was meant to be in 2020, but again, the pandemic put a kind of pause on that and was finally brought to life in 2021 in June at the Deep End in Glasgow, Govanhill Bath. So I was kind of assisting the artists and who are a self-organizing collective to bring this show into being, and very much kind of working on their behalf. And I suppose Rabia was the artist who kind of instigated this as an idea. It was funded through Creative Scotland's Create Inclusion Fund. And I think that one of the impetuses for the exhibition to actually take place was the idea that these artists of colour could wait around and wait for an institution, or probably a white curator from an institution, to come along and say, hey, you guys should be in a show together, to then maybe submit work for a show, to then maybe potentially, if they were lucky, to meet one another at an opening, which is obviously full of alcohol and generally quite a fleeting experience, and not have positive and meaningful engagement with one another. So to kind of take back control in that respect, what Rabia thought and the rest of the artists wanted to do was to actually start a show from the very beginning with one another, to meet one another, to find out a little bit more about one another's work, to look into each other's practice, and just to get to know each other before actually even beginning to make work together and make work for the final exhibition. I've got some examples of which here. So there's a couple of images. There's some images of our lovely artists. Jasleen didn't make it up to Glasgow in the end for the opening. And actually, same photographer as my lovely headshots. We've got a nice picture of Jasleen vaguely in the background there for the artist talk where we beamed her in. So that's an example, I suppose, of a project that is empowering artists to self-organise outside of institutions, not expecting institutions to come to them, but to actually take the power back themselves. And lastly, just a little bit of a focus on Culture Collective, which, as Janine mentioned, is my current role. So I've kind of done a few things for Culture Collective, including recording a podcast at the moment. So Culture Collective is a network of 26 participatory arts projects across Scotland. it's kind of two-pronged. It's again supported by Creative Scotland, and it supports freelance artists and organisations working within communities. So I started last year as events lead. There's one of our last events that we recorded. So that was helping to deliver an event series entitled Starting Points. So that was one way for people to kind of get an insight into what's going on. I say that there's 26 projects across Scotland, but really these are kind of what I now describe as project members. So the idea is that each project member, who could be an individual organisation or a consortium of organisations, will employ a project coordinator. And then these project coordinators are employing, in turn, on a freelance basis, multiple freelance artists. On average, it's around half a dozen, so 6 per project. But for one of our projects, it is that I know of, it's as many as 11 artists. So there's actually multiple projects going on within those 26 member projects across Scotland, if that makes sense. So it's kind of quite a vast project, quite far-reaching, and it's really interesting. As I say, it's almost kind of two-pronged as well. So there's 2 main ambitions with this project. One is to support art taking place within communities, and the other is to support those freelance artists. So for every member organisation, they had to spend at least 50% of their kind of project award on freelance artists, which is really interesting. And it's a bit of an experiment, and we'll see what happens. Initially, it was a kind of 18-month project, so due to be winding up around October of this year, but we got awarded some more funding from the Scottish Government at the end of last year. So the project Culture Collective is going to at least go on until October 2023. So you can now access the videos of the Starting Points series if you're interested in some of the themes that we're talking about. This one in particular, as you can see, was talking about Scotland's places. You can see all of those either on the Culture Collective website or on the YouTube channel. And also at the moment, as I say, with the podcast, we're in the middle of recording our podcast. So it's called Future Culture, and it's available wherever you get your podcasts. So as well as that kind of support and that groundbed of support, I suppose the reason why I bring up Culture Collective is that there's also something about having a collective voice and some kind of advocacy that can be made on a higher level by joining voices and by uniting kind of ideas. So hopefully that will be very inspiring and have some relation to maybe what's trying to be achieved through GCAN's GAP launch. Thank you very much. And I can see you again now.
Thank you so much, Morven. It was very inspiring to see all these projects, and great to hear more about the Culture Collective as well. So we're going to have a quick 5-minute break. So if we come back at 20 to 3, we'll start with the second half, which is kind of getting into more detail about the Glasgow Arts Partnership. So grab yourself a cuppa, stretch your body, just have a wee break, and we'll see you in 5 minutes. Thank you. Lucy, I think people will just start to come in, so if you're happy to get started, that'd be wonderful.
Yes, I can make a start, and I'll quickly respond about the BSL interpretation as well, which is the breakout rooms which we'll have after this will not be recorded. So I'm just going to share my screen, and we're going to have a short introduction to GAP, what GAP is, how it works, how you can get involved. Okay, so I'm hoping you can see this wonderful, colourful illustration which has been created especially for our project. I just wanted to start with a really quick apology for accidentally muting Janine at the beginning there while I was letting people in. That's totally my fault. I do apologise for a little bit of Zoom chaos there. So a quick introduction about me. My name is Lucy Harwood. I'm the project coordinator for GAP, the Glasgow Arts Partnership. I'm a freelance project manager and creative producer. And in the past, I've helped manage creative programs using a similar managing agent model, which is what we've established for GAP. I've also seen how successful this can be, both for increasing participation from grassroots artists and making things easier for all of the organisations involved. So in this short presentation, I'll talk you through what GAP is, how it works, what the benefits are of being involved with GAP, and how to do that. So what is GAP, Glasgow Arts Partnership? GAP is a collaboration between freelancers, creatives, grassroots artists and small organisations that make up the members of the Glasgow Connected Arts Network, which we have close to 500 of these who are part of Glasgow Can. GAP will allow these creatives who are already members of Glasgow Can to work in partnership together to deliver larger funded projects managed and supported by GCAN. This project has been set up to help bridge this gap between larger funding and tender opportunities and the artists who deliver them. Artists and creatives may not have the capacity or the size to deliver whole projects. The applications and tendering arrangements can often be daunting, inaccessible, onerous, and these projects do tend to go to the same place over and over again. So we're looking to increase participation through GAP. So this idea first came about in 2019, and GCAN sought out some advice from a group called P4P, who I think are probably on the call with us today. P4P stands for Partnership for Procurement, and they've been our advisors on how to set up collaborative working in a third sector environment. We've worked very closely with P4P and a steering group of our members to follow a process to set up GAP. And we've reached the stage where we've made a set of arrangements and agreements for how we'll work together, and the sign-ups are now live on the website. So we are open for business. You can join GAP, and we're also looking for our first project opportunities at the moment. So how will GAP work? GCAN will act as a managing agent, which means that we will seek out and arrange projects on behalf of our members. These could come about in quite a variety of different ways. There might be publicly available opportunities which GCAN can bid for on behalf of the members. We're also interested in working closely with buyer organisations to develop projects in a bespoke way. We are also open to our members coming to us with ideas for projects, and we can try and make them happen. So it can happen in quite a variety of ways, but the important thing is that those opportunities are then shared with the membership. These projects themselves can also be quite diverse. They might be designed to meet a specific brief that a buyer organisation has. They might be something more unrestricted, or as I said, it might be an advertised, publicly available opportunity, which we can apply for with GAP. And this can happen in multiple different sectors. So it may be, for example, working with the NHS, the education sector, other industries or other funders. So after GCAN have arranged funding for a project, then GAP members will be able to respond to an artist brief with an expression of interest. We'll also set out ways to encourage our members to collaborate together on larger projects. And after that, there'll be a selection process for the members to take part in the projects. So how will this benefit artists and creatives? Freelancers and small organisations can struggle to bid for these big tenders. It can take up a lot of time, require a lot of paperwork. And as I said at the beginning, these opportunities tend to go to the same players over and over again. GAP will remove the need for artists to be involved in the bidding and administration process, and will also provide project management services for the projects. So the artists can focus on what they do best, which is delivering the project, and we'll deal with the arranging the project with the buyer organisation, advocating for appropriate rates of pay, appropriate amounts of time to develop ideas, to engage with the community effectively, etc. And the artist can focus on delivering the project. How will this benefit buyer organisations? We're interested in working very closely with organisations who might be looking to find out how working with creatives can help them to meet their goals. That might be through corporate social responsibility, community engagement goals that they have, or it could be something else. It could also be internal within the organisation that they want to, that they have something that a creative project could help them to address. So we would work very closely with the buyer organisation to develop the creative strategy for the project at the initial stage. This would then result in agreeing the timescales, the budgets, the type of project that we would have, and there would be a creative strategy and a set of artist briefs at that point. We would also shape the project in the early stages, if there was the opportunity to do this, by engaging with stakeholders, communities and creatives at the beginning to agree a suitable type of project for the aims that we've agreed together. GCAN would then manage all of the communication and administration with the artist, the contracts, the selection process. We would help to set up the project in manageable delivery stages with points for the buyer organisation to engage with the project appropriately. We'd also set up any evaluation and documentation of the project. And there's the obvious benefit, which I perhaps should have mentioned already, of allowing these organisations to access this huge community of creative practitioners with all of their different talents and skills that we already have. Finally, how will communities benefit from GAP? So it's really important to Glasgow CAN that all the projects delivered are impactful and meaningful, and that they're shaped by the needs of the communities involved. GCAN believes that the arts should be a tool for positive social change, and this could manifest in quite a few different ways. The projects could be aimed towards raising self-confidence and self-esteem, promoting community cohesion, raising an awareness of an issue that affects people's lives. Or we could have a project where artists help to integrate something into an existing community, for example, some sort of built redevelopment, public health initiative, something involving green energy or sustainability. There's quite a few possibilities. The important thing is that the needs of the participants are assessed at an early stage by consulting with them, and also by collaborating with the GAP members to make sure the projects are designed in a way which is sensitive to the needs of the communities. So how can I be involved in GAP? If you would like to sign up to join GAP, then the applications process is very simple. We ask that you are a member of GCAN initially, and you can sign up to join GCAN on the website. Then there's a short form on the website which just asks for some basic details in order to take the extra step to join GAP. The reason that we have that is because there's something called a memorandum of understanding on the website, which is a set of agreements and procedures, values that we all agree to follow as we work together on GAP. There's also a non-disclosure agreement, which purely applies to bid writing for GAP. So that means that if GAP applies for something, an opportunity which is publicly available, then any of our members who may also want to apply for that opportunity individually, they're extremely welcome to do so, but they would have to use different creative strategies than the ones that we developed for GAP. And the same thing applies the other way around. So if one of our members applies for a project with GAP and comes up with a creative strategy, then GCAN can't use that for anything else without permission and without working with the member who came up with that strategy. So that's the purpose of the non-disclosure agreement, which is also there on the website as part of the sign-up process. Anyone who's interested in running a project with GAP, or if you're a member of GCAN and you have an idea for a project, then please do get in touch. My email address is at the bottom there, which is gap@glasgowcan.org. We've also got 2 meetings coming up, which you might be interested in. So anyone who's already joined GAP or who joins before the 1st of March is welcome to come along to our first members meeting. These will run every 6 weeks. And the idea is that any GAP member is welcome to come along to help us steer the consortium and bring their ideas, give us feedback on the types of projects that we're pursuing. If you'd like more information, then the following week there's an information session which is open to anyone, and that's on Tuesday the 8th of March, again at the same time between 1 and 2 p.m. So I'm going to stop talking there. I think it's probably a good opportunity to invite some questions. After we've had a short Q&A, then we're going to have the breakout rooms, which will have myself with the artists and creatives and Janine with any buyer organisations. So you may want to ask some questions in the breakout sessions. So I'd probably invite any questions for our guest speakers first of all, but if not, feel free to ask a question for myself or Janine, or put your questions in the chat. So I'll just stop sharing my screen here and we can move into the Q&A. You may want to put your set yourself to gallery view so you can see everyone. And I'd ask anyone that wants to ask a question to raise your hand or use the little Zoom hand. Feel free to do that as well, and I'll try and spot you.
Katrina Caldwell has asked, how is this initiative funded?
Yes, so there's, oh, shall I answer that, Janine? How should we? I've just launched into an answer. So there's 2 ways to interpret the question. How the projects will be funded and how GAP is funded. I'll answer on behalf of the projects first of all. So as a managing agent, Glasgow Can would charge a project management fee for each project, and that would allow Glasgow Can to be sustainable in terms of bringing in income to manage the projects and continue managing GAP. And we are also currently funded by Creative Scotland for my role to lead the steering group and to set up GAP. I hope that answers your question. I don't know if I can see everyone.
Sorry, I have another question. It's Katrina Caldwell here. Sorry, I'm trying to word it. So are you starting from a sort of ground base of zero, if you know what I mean? So when would you imagine that the first sort of relationship might be built by, and how many projects a year do you think might be able to be managed? Because they sound like they're quite big projects that, you know, it's not going for like a small amount of money, it's going for quite large amounts of money, because that's usually where individual artists or, you know, small organisations struggle?
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks, Katrina. I think I'm happy to answer that one as well, but if anyone else wants to jump in, please do. So we're already, we've been running a period of stakeholder engagement, and we're already speaking to several organisations about possibilities for projects. In terms of the number of projects that we could manage at once, obviously depends on how fruitful these different discussions are. At the moment, we have the capacity in-house to manage several projects at once, and it is possible that some of those could be quite large projects. If we found that we needed to take on additional expertise to manage all the projects, then we have quite a few members of GCAN who would also be able to help us with that. So if we found ourselves overloaded with projects, then the benefit would be back to the members of GAP. So that would be a happy dilemma to have. And I hope that helps.
Yes, thank you.
Any more questions? It can be anything, anything, even if it seems a simple question about GAP.
I think someone asked earlier in the chat, Lucy, about is there any cost involved in being a member of GCAN?
So being a member of GCAN and being a member of GAP is currently free. So you can sign up on the website to join GCAN, and there's no cost to join GAP. There's no cost to apply for opportunities, and we're aiming to make things simpler for artists and creatives who may actually incur cost by spending a lot of time on these applications that don't go anywhere. So our aim is to try and reduce potential cost.
Can I ask another question? Sorry, it's Katrina Caldwell again. I'm just wondering, does it work both ways? For example, will you be talking to the community of members to find out the kind of projects that they might be interested in being creatively part of, as well as going to the buyer organisations to ask them what kind of projects they think that they want?
Yes, absolutely. That's one of the purposes of working in partnership, in collaboration with the members, is so that we can really be guided by their ideas. And the purpose of the members group that will meet every 6 weeks is to allow that kind of influence. I just wanted to pass back to Janine. I think on my last point, if you still wanted to jump in, Janine.
Sorry, I'm answering questions in the chat. No, I think you've answered them really beautifully, Lucy. Thank you. I was going to jump in because Jean has her emoji hand up. So Jean, do you want to ask your question?
Hi, thanks. Firstly, I think this is great, and it's not coming a moment too soon. It's really overdue. So well done. Many of us have thought about this, but you're actually doing it, so it's brilliant. Given that you've got members that are a mixture of producers, curators, as well as practitioners, have you got a sense of what project management means in terms of those backroom services that you'll be providing, or is it on a case-to-case basis?
Yeah, that's a good question. I'm happy to answer that. I would invite any more questions for our speakers as well, but I'm happy to answer that. So, depending on the needs of the project and depending on the size of the project, you're right, there are quite a few behind the scenes skills that we might need, and we can go out to the GAP membership for quite a few of those. There may be a project where we take on something approaching a lead artist, of someone who can help organise in a creative capacity. We do have project management skills within the GCAN team, but if we needed to take on any extra project management, we could also do that from within the GAP membership. There may also be opportunities to do things like evaluation within specific projects, or to help us document larger projects. We're also really interested in creating opportunities within larger projects for, say, artists who have less experience, or for mentoring or artist bursaries within larger projects. So I think my answer is that if there are roles to be filled, I think we can do that from within the GAP membership.
So we have a question in the chat now from Tonya. Is the focus of the project primarily on the visual arts? Maybe I can jump in with that one. We do use the term artist quite a lot, but I'm keen that we maybe expand that to creative, because our membership is the full spectrum of the creative and cultural industries within the participatory creative community. So there will be some projects that may have more of a focus on visual arts, but there will be others that will be multidisciplinary or require different skill sets. So that's why we're really keen to encourage our GCAN members to join GAP, because obviously the more vibrant and diverse the consortium is, the more that we can pitch for different types of projects and commissions, and also kind of proactively speak to different companies or different organizations and sort of pitch them before maybe they have a project in mind, so that we can be a bit more proactive in that. So hopefully that answers the question. Lucy, I don't know if you want to add to that.
No, that's very thorough. Thank you.
Helena, you've got your hand up.
Yes, it was really just, you kind of answered it very well anyway, Janine, but I think that was a very important point, that we're really keen to work with the whole ecology of artists and creative practitioners in the city. And also one of the things we will be looking at, as Janine and Lucy know, is the learning from this, the sharing of that, and how we can then look to see how this could possibly be rolled out to other parts of the country as well. But very, very much looking at, yes, what are the opportunities here to both learn and explore and share that as well. It's a very key thing for us. And yeah, absolutely pulling in that whole ecology of artists, creative practitioners, designers, anyone who is looking at the procurement sector. And also, I think important, as I was saying earlier, that this is an opportunity to also educate the procurement sector as well about what artists and practitioners can offer, because they may not sometimes realise what the opportunities are from the artists and practitioners' talent and opportunities to service what they are looking to do. So I think it's a two-way thing, as I was saying earlier. Okay.
Sarah, I can see you've got your hand up.
Yeah, I just had a question that I think it sort of maybe applies the most to sort of the like non-disclosure agreement that you were talking about. So say like as an artist, you know, if I had sort of a creative idea for a project that I wanted to put on and kind of, you know, came to GAP with this concept, if it turns out that, say, you know, through GAP, we apply to a certain pot of funding and it doesn't work out, am I allowed to kind of keep my idea and maybe like take it somewhere else or something? Or does, once I've kind of presented an idea to GAP, does it then kind of become sort of the ideological property of the partnership?
Yeah, thank you. I can see why you're asking that question, because I talked about both the ideas of GAP and the ideas that individual creatives might bring forward. So any idea that an individual creative brings to GAP is still theirs. And in the example that you described, if we were to pursue a proposal based on it and it didn't go anywhere, then it would still belong entirely with the artist who had proposed it. When I mentioned creative strategies that have been developed by GAP, that would be anything originating from GCAN, from the core GCAN team. Say we put a bid in for a project with a particular idea, that then that idea can't be, one of our members can't go and use that independently as well. I think these things are up for discussions. If there was some unique case where someone wanted to use something for something, it would be by agreement. But the idea is to protect the intellectual property of the artists and creatives, and also try and avoid anything too confusing happening with bid writing.
Thanks, that's really helpful.
So I think we've got about 2 minutes before we break out into the 2 breakout rooms. Does anyone else have any questions before we break out? Okay, that feels like a natural point to maybe open up the breakout rooms. So we have room 1 is for bioorganizations, or those interested in kind of discussing or asking questions around bioorganizations, and room 2 is for creatives. So I'm going to open up the breakout rooms. These are super informal, so please feel free to jump in, and if you're put in a room that you don't want to be in, come back into the main room, this gallery room, and we'll put you in the next breakout room. Okay. Oh, David, I'm sorry we got cut off. And you're on mute, I'm sorry.
You think I'd know better. I'm just finishing up with a finale to say it's hugely important development, and I think couldn't be done at a better time given where we're going around reconnecting and resetting the ecology and the economy of working in the creative industries.
Thank you, David, and yeah, look forward to connecting with Skills Development Scotland. It'd be great to catch up. So yeah, we're back in the main room, and I'm just going to pass over to Lucy to wrap up and conclude today. But from me, thanks so much everyone for coming and being part of our launch event. It's been great. Thank you.
And thanks from me as well to all of our attendees, and a fascinating chat with you all in the breakout group as well. Thanks so much. I'd also like to thank our speakers, Helena Ward, Mary Christie, Morven Cunningham, our GCAN director, Janine Matheson, and also our BSL interpreters, Paul Michaels and Tracy Tyre. So what next? If you're not a member of GAP, please do sign up. You can do so on our website at glasgowcan.org/GAP sign up. We have a couple of events coming up that you might be interested in joining. If you're already a member of GAP, or you are by next Tuesday, please come along to our members meeting so we can start working together to develop projects and hear your ideas, and any discussions that got cut short in the creatives breakout. Please come along, and we can have more of those. If you'd just like more information about GAP, you can also come to our information session, which is the Tuesday after, which I already mentioned, also between 1 and 2 p.m. And please feel free to get in touch by email with any follow-ups at gap@glasgowcan.org. Finally, I'd like to thank our tech support, Mario, for keeping everything running. And thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of your day, everyone, and we'll let you all leave the meeting just as it suits you.